the stand-up perspective, what's new in your world, and then you could hack into our behavior.
Sounds good. So this has been the spring of training and workshops for me. Sorry, I'm trying to scooch my chair up a little bit. I have 2 different clients who have had Sitecore sites up for a couple of years, and they're ready to start doing some personalization. So I'm doing 2 different workshop series with 2 different clients, which gets a little confusing. Just teaching them about taxonomy, goals and engagement value, how to get their personalization started, do testing, set up their analytics, all that good stuff. So I've been doing a lot of that this spring. And then I'm just starting 2 new website rebuild projects. So we're just getting those 2 started, starting with the discovery process. So it'll be really fun to have those to work on over the next 6 or 8 months. It gets a little hairy when you have 2 different projects, 2 different clients doing similar things at the same stage. A year or so ago, I had 2 clients I was doing user research for, and I thought my head was going to explode because it was just too much at one time. But they'll both be really fun projects to be working on. So that's kind of what I'm up to right now. I've been doing this little talk on behavioral economics a little bit. I'm doing a blog series on the Proficient website, kind of taking each of these theories and breaking them down one by one in more detail. And I'm working with one of our developers, Zach Gay. And so we're kind of tag teaming this. I'm kind of talking about it from the strategy side, the why you should do this, and then he's doing kind of accompanying blog posts saying how exactly you do it as a developer. So it's been really fun working with him on this, and we think we should have a blog post maybe once a month through the end of the year. So keep your eyes peeled for that. So
that sounds exciting. Can't wait to read them all.
Yeah. So do we have any other business to take care of, or should I just jump into this thing?
Yeah, go ahead, jump into it.
All right. So I was telling Dennis earlier, and I'll share with you guys, I just walked through our office here, and it smells a little hot and fiery, and they're having building maintenance come up and look and check. But if I get a knock on my door, it means that there's a fire and I have to leave. So in the event I up and walk out, that's what's going on. I'm not just being rude. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Yep.
All right. So I started reading stuff about behavioral economics maybe 5 or 6 years ago and found it really interesting just kind of from a sociological standpoint. But I started looking at decisions I was making in marketing strategy and thought, oh, so that's why people do that. That's why people do this. And it's made me much more aware of paying attention to things in other digital experiences I have. If it's an app, if it's a website, if it's some social media stuff, why do people do the things they do, and why are marketing experiences designed the way they are? And a lot of that in the end has tied back to some of the things I've learned about behavioral economics. So what is it? It's a field of research that blends psychology, economics, and neuroscience to examine the human rationality of decision making. Way back in the 1800s, there was kind of a smattering of articles and literature about this, but it didn't really have a name. It wasn't until the 60s or 70s that this became kind of an area of interest, an actual discipline, an area of study. And there have been some really good books written on it just in the last 20 or 30 years that I'll talk about kind of when we get to the end of this, but it's a fairly new area of study, just basically figuring out why do people do the things they do? What social or emotional things impact people's behavior and decision making? So if we kind of understand why people do the things they do, they often make irrational, unexplainable, and unpredictable decisions. We can create experiences that accommodate the human brain and influence behavior. So I kind of joke that this is like a Dr. Evil genius manipulative thing. And I try to think that I'm altruistic enough that I don't ever want marketing to be manipulative. I don't want to influence someone to make a decision that's bad for them. I just want to make it really, really easy for them to make the decisions I would like them to make, and kind of reduce all the barriers, all the frustrations, all the snag between interest and transaction, whatever that may be. So there are certainly some ethical things that come along with this. I think that we run into that a lot these days with retargeting and personalization and social media things. You know, there's a fine line between familiar and intimate. There's a fine line between helpful and creepy. And so this is kind of where we walk that line a little bit. But I think that if you understand why the human brain makes us do the things we do, we can accommodate it and not make people work so hard to do the things that we would like them to do. So rational choice theory is kind of the pie in the sky theory that, you know, if every rational human is given the same set of circumstances, they will make the same decision that's best for them. And that's not always what happens. People make irrational, dumb decisions all the time. I did this talk internally last winter, and one of the things I talked about was all the dumb stuff I have bought myself while I was in quarantine. I bought myself wigs. I bought myself crowns. I thought I was going to start gardening. I thought I was going to start doing a lot of things that, like, I had no business buying this stuff, but I was sitting at home and I was bored and there was nothing else to do. And I had good intentions to get into a lot of this stuff. And so, like, I'm exactly the dummy that this stuff works on, because I can easily be talked into just about anything. So rational choice theory doesn't really exist. It's the premise that people given a certain set of circumstances will make good decisions for themselves, or predictable decisions, I should say. That's almost never the case. People are very unpredictable. So I'm going to talk about a few of these theories at kind of a high level. There's probably 2 or 3 dozen different theories. Some of them are, you know, pretty close to the same thing. But the one that I think makes the most difference in website strategy, especially if you're in e-commerce, is social proof theory. One of my former jobs, believe it or not, was selling siding. I was the marketing director for a siding company here in Minnesota, and I went to Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wisconsin a little bit. And one of the things I asked homeowners was like, okay, you're building a new house, or you're re-siding, like, what helped you decide on this particular brand, or pre-finished or not pre-finished? You know, are you getting manufactured wood, or manufactured siding? And every single time they said, well, my neighbor down the street just got new siding, and so I asked what he did and what did he like and what didn't he like. You know, the very first thing they did was ask not their builder, not the guy at the lumber yard. They asked just normal people what their experience was like. And so that's social proof theory in work. It's getting input or validation from other people on the decisions that we make. So one of those areas that we see all the time is online reviews. And 72% of customers said that positive online reviews make them trust a company more. And 88% said that they trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations. Now, I know a lot of people who say, oh, I never believe, you know, online reviews. They're manufactured. They only tell you the good ones. But the truth is, we look at them. You know, when I'm on Amazon trying to find, you know, a new wig because 6 isn't enough and I want to be Moira Rose when I grow up, I usually sort by star rating. You know, I want to see what people have been happy with. I want to read their testimonials. I want to see the pictures they took, that sort of thing. And that really influences what I decide. So how do you make this possible on your website? Some things you can do is you can implement automated or aggregated customer reviews when you can. Make sure it's possible to share product images, descriptions, that sort of thing on social media. And then I also recommend my clients implement schema markups so that aggregate review will appear in the Google search results. You know, if I search on Google and there's 5 different wigs that come up and one has their aggregate review right in their rich snippet, I'm far more likely to click through to that website and learn more. And that's just human nature. You know, tell me the good stuff up front and I'll probably go down the rabbit hole in your direction. A couple other examples of this first one, this Dr. Scholl's shoes. This is a real conversation that I had. These shoes came up on my Instagram feed a few times and I was like, gosh, are they cute or are they not cute? Like I couldn't quite tell if I liked them or not. So instead of just deciding for myself, I ask all my, my girlfriends, what do you think? Like, would you wear these? Overwhelmingly, they would not wear them. I still think they're cute. I may just order them anyway, but like the brain in me said, like I want to get a second opinion on this. And then right next to it, this is the mobile version of Dr. Scholl's one of the rich snippets. So you can see right in the search engine result page in their rich snippets, they have 4.5 stars from 412 reviewers on famous footwear. Well, that sounds pretty good. I'm pretty likely to at least click through and learn more. So this is one of those things that like, yeah, we know, yeah, let's do this thing. Let's do the rich snippet. Let's do the customer reviews on the web page. But it's really important to understand what you're satisfying in your customers, what you're satisfying in the human brain when you give them that information. They want to find out what other people think and if they're making a good decision. So this is the one that I really emphasize most often with my clients is like, if you do nothing else, make sure you have reviews and you can share and that sort of thing. Another interesting theory is the loss aversion theory. And this is really close to the one we're going to talk to right after this. But individuals are more willing to take risks in order to avoid losing something they have as opposed to gaining something new. And a really well-known statistic is the psychological pain of losing something is twice as significant as the pleasure of gaining something. I own a lot of things that are financially worthless, but I would not sell for any amount of money. I don't know if you guys have stuff like that. I have a 90210 pencil box from like 1991 that is like monetarily worth nothing, but I'm not like, you could pay me $200 for that and I wouldn't give it to you. It's because it's mine. So if you use language that emphasizes loss rather than gain, like you say, stop losing hundreds on car insurance each month rather than save hundreds of dollars on car insurance each month, that kind of trips a different kind of trigger in the brain of your users. For those of you who are not from Minnesota, I don't know if you know who Garrison Keillor is, one of our, famous men who did bad things, but he, is kind of a I don't know, icon in Minnesota, I guess. This is his house, and it's like 3 blocks away from me in St. Paul. And they have had this thing on the market forever. If you look at the Zillow history down here, okay, we're good. We're not on fire. I got the thumbs up, so I don't have to run screaming from the room. I've kind of had my eye out my window of my door going, are there firemen out there or not? So, but you can see from the Zillow history, like they are losing money all the time. They started with a listing price of $2.5 million in 2019, and now it's down to $1,750,000. I think because like the pain of losing it, the pain of giving it up is greater than the financial loss that they are taking every year this thing is on the market. And you see that quite a bit with real estate, things with sentimental value, that sort of thing. It's very similar to the endowment effect or prospect theory. So individuals perceive the value of an item they own as higher than an identical item owned by someone else. So it's kind of like the flip side of that previous theory. So what do you do with this? If you can show items that are already customized with the prospect's identifiable details, if you can do giveaways, free trials, free limited time subscriptions, give them a sense of brand ownership. I don't know how many things I have signed up for a free like 1-week trial on something. And even if I don't love it, I usually keep it. Because once you have it, it's kind of nice to have it. I'm also a super big sucker for like free samples, things like that, I would never be the kind of woman to buy this like brand of hair stuff, but I got a sample one time and it was kind of nice, and maybe I am that kind of person, and well, now I kind of want to try other stuff. So if you can give people kind of a feeling of ownership or investment in a brand or a product or something, you may have good ROI on those efforts. An example of this is especially on Facebook because they have all your information. I'll sometimes see things in my feed that are already personalized to some of my details. You know, it'll be like born in 1977, blah, blah, blah t-shirt, or it'll have my last name on it. And it always catches my attention, you know, like, oh, that would be cute with my name on it. That would be cute with, you know, my year of birth or whatever on it. Maybe Facebook knows I'm a cat person, shows me cat stuff, you know. If I can see myself owning that, I'm more likely to click through. This is another example, is websites that can be personalized or customized. So I know there are a lot of car websites where you can kind of like build and quote. You can change the color of your Honda. You can change the kind of tires, the kind of rims you have. And the more you can visualize that thing how you want it being yours, the more likely you are to, you know, move through the funnel a little further. This is a company that makes like personalized coffee cups, tumblers, that sort of thing. But you can personalize with like, well, this is me and my best friend, Steph, and she has long blonde hair. She drinks champagne. I have shorter red hair. I drink red wine. Isn't this cute? Like, it's kind of fun to play around with this. Well, I kind of want it now that I've made it because it looks like me. So if you ever have websites, customers, clients who there's the opportunity to insert the user into the object, into the brand, into the experience, so they can picture themselves owning it, that's a really good place to put some effort. Another theory that's really interesting, and this is less of a technical thing rather than a strategic thing. So individuals' decisions are influenced based on the way a choice is presented. So for instance, 93% of PhD students registered early when they were told there was a penalty for late registration, but only 63% registered early when they were told there was a discount for early registration. So like, you can present the same information two different ways and have completely different outcomes. So if you use language to emphasize loss rather than gain, and again, stop losing hundreds on car insurance rather than save hundreds of dollars on car insurance, that's a big help. I don't know if you guys remember, gosh, this must have been maybe 10 years ago. There was a big hubbub, and I can't remember if it was Taco Bell or Taco John's, but there was this huge scandal that their meat in their tacos was only like 95% meat. And so people like filled in the blanks in their head going, oh, what kind of garbage is that other 5%? Well, it's seasoning, it's starch, it's onions, it's, you know, other things. But when you present it that way, it really freaked people out. Another way of looking at this is like, if you just go to buy a hamburger and you say, you know, our hamburger is 95% lean, that sounds pretty good. But if they say, oh, it's 5% fat, you're like, no, you know, it sounds gross. So how you present choices makes a really big difference. And this is really close to the anchoring principle, which means that individuals will rely heavily on the first piece of information they receive and use it as a reference point or benchmark for decisions, whether it's rational or not. So if you can use messaging to emphasize the value relative to something else, either higher or lower, depending on what your goals are, you'll have good results. Here's an example of this. I can't remember which website this is on. If it was, this doesn't look like Amazon. I can't remember where I found this, but I was looking for bedding and I didn't want something super expensive or fancy, but I ran across this. And the first thing that caught my attention was sale starts at $21.67. And I was like, ugh. Oh, it was overstock, obviously. $21.67. I'm like, well, that's pretty cheap. That must be kind of crappy quality. And then I saw, oh, the MSRP is almost $90. Well, compared to that, if the value really was, or the value started out at $90 and now it's on sale for $21, I'm perceiving $90 worth of value for a price of $21. So putting those right next to each other made a big difference to me. I mean, I probably wouldn't have bought this thinking I'm just getting a $21 duvet set. But when in my head, I'm really getting one that's worth $90 because that's what it started out as, sure, I went through and made that purchase. Another really interesting one is the hedonic principle, which says individuals are more motivated by rewards of luxury rather than cash or other rewards because it removes the idea of guilt or indulgence in acquiring those rewards. So I was raised in the Midwest by a Norwegian mother. We don't deserve to spend our money on nice things, but if someone gives you one, or you earn it, or you win it, go ahead and enjoy. So that's why I don't spend a lot of money on hair products, because my mother makes me feel bad about it. But if you use items of luxury or indulgence to incentivize behavior rather than discounts, cash, or open-ended gifts, you'll have good luck. So one of the places that I am pretty loyal to is Sephora. And one of the main reasons is this mind trick they play with me with my VIB points. It's a very important beauty, I think, and there's different levels, and there's a rouge level and something else, and you get all these special perks and stuff. They have the exact same products that you can order through other websites, or you can get them from Ulta or Nordstrom, whatever. But I keep going back to Sephora because I really like to see my points go up. And you know what I get for those points? Just samples, just small sizes of stuff I probably would have bought everything anyway. But you know, I also get like a nice little gift on my birthday. I get a free lipstick, that sort of thing. So this is one of those things where if Sephora said, you know, for every $100 you spend, you get $2 back, I'd be like, $2? That's not even a cup of coffee. But if after $100 they give you like a teeny tiny free luxury lipstick, okay, you've just got my loyalty for a long time. Another one is self-control theory. And again, this is where I'm going to, you know, spill my guts that I have no self-control. Our brain is kind of wired to work two ways. There's a doer focused on short-term rewards. What can I do or get or enjoy right now for kind of that hit of dopamine or serotonin, versus your planner brain going, okay, what are the long-term implications or ramifications of this? What happens if I delay this gratification? So if you use immediate incentives, discounts, or promotions to increase urgency, engagement, you have to do this thing now in order to, you know, get this thing, you'll have good luck. And this is, like I said, the kind of thing that I completely get sucked into. I pay for Amazon Prime because I cannot wait 3 days for this dumb thing I need. I need it tomorrow or in 2 days. I will almost always pay more for expedited shipping, that sort of thing. Another thing is like back when we used to go to bars and enjoy music from jukeboxes, you know, I'd put in my $20, I'd start choosing songs. Oh, but then I'd run across the one that I really like, and for 2 credits, you can play it next. And I do that all the time because the doer in my head goes, oh, I really want to hear Come On Eileen in 5 minutes and not 10 minutes. So I'm going to use 2 credits to get that first. So if you ever have an opportunity to like, you know, provide immediate gratification for the doer brain, do it, because then that leads to you know, this feeling of ownership, that sort of thing, and all kinds of kind of works together. It's also really important to keep this stuff in mind when you're doing user testing and performance and data insights. So we can test things, you know, let's say there's a component or a page, I want to test one against the other. I really encourage people to go back to their 7th grade science fair project. And I go back and I reference the scientific theory with my clients, so the scientific method. So you're going to test this thing. What happens if you get one outcome or the other? What are you going to change and why? And when you're trying to change what to, or figure out what to change, what to test, what to implement, it's really nice to kind of have some of these theories in the back of your head. So, you know, okay, well, you know, I have 2 CTAs. If this one doesn't do very well, what does that teach me about that user and their behavior and their preferences? And it kind of gives you a little bit of a direction on which way to go with some of your testing. Same with form completion. I worked with a client who was a manufacturer of some home products, and they had a request a brochure form. And they asked for a ton of information just to look at a brochure. So, and their abandon rate on this form was like 85%. I'm like, yeah, because I just want to download more information about this thing. I don't want to give you my social security number, my mother's maiden name, my, you know, my cat's name. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but balance the amount of information you are requiring from your users versus the value of the thing you're giving them, and where on kind of the engagement spectrum you think they are. If I'm just downloading a catalog, it means I'm looking and browsing. But if I want to find a dealer, if I want more technical information about an object, obviously that means I'm a little bit further down the funnel. So understanding kind of the brain and mind of your user and having a lot of empathy will help you figure out how to increase completion and conversion on your forums. Same with email opens, survey completion, the performance of any sales or promotions, that sort of thing. Even increasing donations. I spent the first few years of my marketing career working in nonprofits, doing marketing and fundraising, running foundations and that sort of thing. And if you're looking at an event or a time-bound kind of thing, think about people's actual lives. So I inherited an annual campaign that always happened on Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day every year, which was great. And then one year I realized that I think Valentine's Day fell on a Thursday. The 15th was a Friday. Now, I don't know if you're like me, on payday, I feel like I have all the money in the world. I will make it rain, but like the day before payday, I'm like, feel a little stretchy. So for just 1 year, instead of just doing it on the 14th, we did it on the 14th and 15th, because for a lot of folks, the 15th is payday and Friday is payday. And just by doing that, just by adding that one extra day, we increased, I think by 70% the amount of money we raised just by bumping it by 1 day, because people feel like they have more money to donate when their checking account looks really, really good. So think about like the real world behavior of your users and what decisions one way or another might influence their behavior. This helps a lot with employee and customer engagement. Why aren't people doing business with you? Why aren't people doing this thing that you built just for them? And ask. Don't assume that you know. Just ask people, why did you choose this over that? Why don't you do business with us? Why didn't you do this thing if you're ever able to? And you might be surprised at the response that you get. And then site search as well. You can get really deep into the minds of your customers and users if you can get some analytics out of your site search and determine, are they looking for information that's not there, or are they looking for information that's there and it's hard to find? Is there information that should be delivered in a different way, that sort of thing? And all these kind of tie back to some of these theories around behavioral economics and why the human brain works the way it does and people make the decisions they do. So there's some really great books out here, and they're not all really about behavioral economics, but they kind of are. I am a huge Malcolm Gladwell fan, and I try and go back once a year. I'm a big audiobook person. I try and listen to one of his books, every year just to refresh my memory. Because even though these aren't about marketing and they're not about behavioral economics, they really are, and a lot of the things that he talks about we can apply to our strategies all the time. Thinking Fast and Slow is another really good one when we talk about the doer and the planner brain. And then Nudge, which was written by Richard Thaler. He's kind of the godfather of behavioral economics, and he won the Nobel Prize, I think, in '96 for some of his work. But this is a great book, really good on audiobook if you'd rather listen and drive, listen and clean, listen and do your stuff. There's also quite a few good podcasts: Invisibilia, Freakonomics Radio, Hidden Brain, Revisionist Theory. There's another one that I forgot to add here, 99% Invisible, really talks about kind of everyday design and how that affects our world and our behavior. So I would add that as well. And then if you just go to behavioraleconomics.com, it's basically a textbook online of all the theories and where they came from and what you can do with them. And I kind of keep it saved on my bookmarks, and I pull it up quite often when we're doing website strategy, channel strategy, and I refer back to it and be like, well, we're kind of stuck in this thing. Maybe this will, get some ideas generated or help us make a decision one way or another when we, kind of need a tiebreaker. And then there's a really good LinkedIn group too that's devoted to behavioral economics. And there's a lot of good posts and articles out there that apply directly to marketing. And good old Google, if nothing else, go visit Google and see what they have to say. But there's been a lot of good articles and blog posts that are really marketing focused. That'll tell you, here's 10 ways to use behavioral economics to accomplish X, Y, Z. So there's a lot of good stuff out there worth looking up. So this is the very, very high level 20-minute shallow dive into this subject, but hopefully it'll give you, just interest you enough to go look and read some more. And like I said, Zach and I are going to be publishing blog articles roughly once a month until the end of the year, taking these one by one and kind of doing a little bit more of a deep dive and some examples from a technical perspective, what you do, how do you do this? How exactly do you implement this, particularly on your Sitecore websites, make it easier for folks to do. So you guys have any questions or things you want to talk about?
Nice. Nice. I love that presentation. Like how much, Megan, do you think, we're in this Sitecore space and we've got some really great tools. We've got all of the personalization stuff. We've got all this A/B testing. We've got now, and Jana mentioned Sitecore AI and auto magical personalization, which is always like, I'm like, okay, magic.
Yeah.
How much of digital marketing success is like technology driven and psychology driven, and like what's more important, or maybe it's not a fair question, but I'd like to comment on.
So I'm super duper biased. I would say 75% is research, empathy, strategy, psychology is the why. I would say 25% is the how. Now developers are going to disagree with me and they're kind of flip that sideways on me, but I'm a huge advocate in investing in user research and looking at data and what is working, what isn't working, where are people getting stuck, what is an area, what's something you want them to do that people just aren't doing. And start with kind of your list of problems to be solved, and then let that drive your efforts to a certain extent. But I really think that you have to have a really deep understanding of your users, what they like, what they don't like. Why are there people out there not using your website, not doing business with you? I have my husband kind of helping me keep a laundry list of things that tick him off on apps. I hate going to like a mobile site on my phone and they make me download an app in order to do business with them. I'm not going to download an app every time I want to do business online with a company. Or they do have an app and then you get to a certain point and it kicks you back to Safari, to the website. Well, just make it one or the other, Another thing he was talking about, he eats at McDonald's every once in a while, and he thought it would be great to download the website or download the app, because then you order ahead of time. It's going to be there when I get there. Nope, it doesn't trigger anything until you actually get into the parking lot and there's some sort of code. So it's going no faster than if you just got in line with everybody else, So like really, I'm a big advocate of walking through the front door of your company, literally and digitally. What exactly are people's experience and how can we make it exceedingly easy for them to do business with you? So in my mind, it's a whole lot of why, and then coming to your development team and say, hey, here's the problem we're trying to solve. How can we do this digitally through technology?
Tend to agree, for sure. Other questions, comments, challenges?
It's a great talk, Megan. This is the first time I've listened to it, and it was really, really good. I took a lot of notes. Yeah, it was awesome, thinking about how people do it. And the fact that it's so scientific. It's not subjective, you know? So,
Yep. And I'm constantly telling clients, don't build your plans and strategy based on assumptions, based on what you think about your users, your customers, your clients. You got to ask them. You know, you have to research. You have to look at the data. Don't build personas on what you think, Jane the Juicer is gonna like. You have to find out for real, based on research and reality, what is real and what isn't. But like I said, this behavioraleconomics.com website, it's super dry, it's not sexy, it's not pretty, but there is a nice list of basically all the theories of behavioral economics. And it's nice to just kind of keep that up or refer back to it every once in a while and skim through them. And it may help you think, okay, this is how we should solve this problem, or this is how we should make this decision. Because it's not based on our assumptions. It's not based on what we think would be cool. It's based on what will help affect the behavior of your users.
How is the behavioral economics website not sexy? Like, that's what I got to say. Like, they're not drinking their own Kool-Aid on that one.
It's very
I just
functional.
don't get it.
It's very functional.
Is it? Okay, I
they
haven't
don't
checked
care
it
what
out.
they look like, but
I shouldn't judge. I shouldn't judge.
No, but it's very easy to navigate, and that's the important thing.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But on that front, though,
Dennis sounds like sexy is not the new sexy. Functional is the new sexy.
Functional is the new sexy. Right.
Exactly.
That's
cool.
Good. That's good. It gives the rest of us hope.
Yeah. Thank goodness.
I am useful. I am useful. Isn't that hot?
Exactly.
So, like, you find like our okay, how many customers? I mean, like, I'm convinced, right? But I don't know if I've just got to do a better job picking customers or what. But like, so far over my career, I've just found a lot of customers, like, assumptions is their thing. So they'll go and they'll have a little team. They'll put together a team, and their team will work with some creative dudes, and they'll make up some pretty pictures, and and they have all of these great Photoshop things, and then they finally call up the Sitecore partner and they say, hey, go build this.
Yeah.
That's what I've been seeing a lot of.
Yeah.
Everybody, you're shaking your head because some people who do that kind of stuff, right?
Some people, just a few.
Some people. We're not naming any people, but I mean, like, all you strategists, I mean, like, is that what you guys are seeing too? Or are you guys like seeing customers come to the table like, okay, we got to have this scientific approach, and we got to set up tests before we decide what we're going to build, and right? Like, they're not doing that, right, Walt?
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. Feel free.
No, I was gonna say, no, they don't do that. They have a bunch of stuff on their old site, and they think it all needs to come over. Just words like content strategy and migration, and their eyes glaze over when you pull up like a draft strategy of like, here's how we might approach it.
I think one of the things is research and testing are kind of ephemeral things that are hard to quantify and hard to sell. Because it's hard to say, I mean, it's easy to say, we're gonna, do this technology, we're gonna build you this thing, but it's hard to kind of justify the investment in time and money in research and testing, especially when the client goes, well, we know our users, or we did research 5 years ago, here's what these other people ask. Well, they may not be asking the right questions. And I think if you have, I hate the term sellers, but portfolio specialists, the people helping sell these projects, if they have been on 1 or 2 or 3 projects where research and testing has been done really, really well, hopefully they're willing to advocate on your behalf and say, I was on this project, they thought they needed X, we did some research and found that they really needed Y, and then we built this thing and we tested it and we were close, but we were off a little bit, and here's the fantastic results they had. And we know as strategists that that's what's worth investing in, alongside other things as well. It's a tough thing to convince people to spend a lot of money on. So any chance you have to like have coffee with one of your sellers or account managers and share with them your experience and why projects always, always, always turn out better if you can do some research and testing. Hopefully they'll have an easier time kind of selling that investment to potential clients.
It's a good tip
And the
with the account
sponsor
managers.
Mm-hmm.
often the people that are working on chartering the project are the, more of the doers.
Right.
And I can check a box as a doer if the new site is up and it's got some content on it, right? It looks like
Mm-hmm.
it. Unless somebody's boss says, what was your hypothesis here? And where is the data on these results? And show me how you arrived at these conclusions.
Yep.
Then those folks can take the easy way out.
Yep.
Yep. Right on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think too, I mean, that kind of goes back, I mean, making sure having those examples is like a little bit of social proofing too, right? Which is another thing in that sense. And if I think about your talk, you also talked about like fear and losing out being kind of more potent drivers for people. So I figured maybe we got to do a better job of using some of that too as strategists to convince people to get out of that mindset. Because I think that if we're making those assumptions and then not like testing, when the users, and we feel like we know their users, it's like, okay, yeah, fine, you know your users, but you know them today or yesterday. I mean, what if they change their mind? Because, they do that, right? They go and change their, how will you know when they do that if you're not in constant testing mode, right?
Yep. Constant testing and constantly monitoring your analytics. There's nothing that breaks my heart more than a client who like sets up their Google Analytics or their Sitecore Analytics, and then they never look at it, or they don't know what to do with the data that they're getting. They don't know what it's really telling them about the behavior of their users. So that's again one of these times where, okay, we have this page and it's not doing what we want it to. Why? Go back and read some of this stuff, and maybe something will, trigger in your head, oh, it's because they really want the opportunity at this stage in the funnel to get some validation from other people that this is going to work. One of the coolest things that I saw, my daughter had prom this last weekend. And so we were looking at dresses, and there's 1,000 websites with dresses, and I would look at them on my computer. But then of course she's on her phone. So like, how do I get the URL from the computer to my phone? Well, I'd usually send it to myself in a Facebook Messenger and then get it off that on my phone and send it to her. One website I saw said, send this page to your phone. And I thought that is genius, because it was so easy. Then I just threw in my phone number. Now they have my phone number, by the way. Now I'm a lead. But I was able to send it to my phone and then send it to my daughter's phone without the rigmarole of going back and forth. So just any opportunity you have like that, just to make it easier for folks, and in order to figure out what that is, go through the website like you're a user, or, get somebody who has nothing to do with the project to go through and tell them what's frustrating you about this. And then you can, grease the skids in the other direction a little bit.
Nice. Nice. I had another, another point. I had another thought when you were talking about just like maybe the Sitecore side of things again. When you're talking about the social proofing and like the ratings, customer ratings and stuff. And it's just a thought that occurred to me with regards to personalization. Like if I was able to kind of understand who was who the user was who was giving that rating or feedback and stuff, and then relate that to the customer who was viewing those ratings. I mean, it'd be nice to surface up ones that were like people like me.
Right.
Because I'm more likely to listen to people like me than people not like me, because I'm like that.
And I know I've been on some websites, and I wonder if it was Amazon, looking at, a certain dress or something. And I was able to look at ratings or reviews for people in my size range, because a dress may look great on a size 2, may not look great on a size 10, So if I can look at the reviews from people like me with a body like me, I can make a better decision than otherwise. So that's kind of a real world example of how that might work. Excellent. Cool. All right. Well, it's almost noon in Minnesota, 1 o'clock, I think, in the rest of the world.
Yeah. So
Yeah, great presentation, Megan.
you.
Thank you. And great discussion as well. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today, and join us again next month for Shelly and her topics. That'll be really exciting. And did you come up with the song then, Dennis?
Tiaras. Oh, I forgot the song. Oh, I was supposed to queue up a song for our goodbye thing.
Our play out music. We'll get better.
I'm stealing that from Corey and Rick and those guys from Sitecore. Okay, next time I will violate their copyright.
We should play the Star Wars credit song.
Oh my God, that would be perfect. Wait, well, let's see if we can get the Star Wars thing on YouTube real quick to take us out in 1 minute. Wait.
Yeah.
I was going to say that while I look for this Star Wars theme, I was going to say while I look for this, that next month when Shelley comes on, I'm going to see if I can find me a nice tiara to wear for your show.
Yeah. I guess we should do that. We should all come in tiaras next time. We really should. That'd be fun.
The Imperial Death March.
There you go. Oh, I'm sorry, Megan. I didn't know what it was called, to be honest.
Oh, wait, here it comes. Wait. I'm going to share the screen too if I can. Let's see if I can get the audio. Share sound. Is that working? Did I do the right thing?
Yes, nice.
There we go.
Well done.
All right, people. See you later, and may the 4th be with you.
Be with you.
Always.
Excellent. All right. See you guys next month.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.